So my brother shows up with his kids, demanding I watch them, and I tell him I can't, I'm sorry, I'm not even home. I'm about to go to New York City with some friends. Well, he wasn't having it. You will not believe what he does now. So, I'm 25 female and usually work from home and frequently babysit my brother's 31 male sister-in-law kids. They have 3 kids between the ages of 4 to 7. My brother has a rather demanding job that I won't be revealing here as I don't think he'd want me to. And his wife is a nurse. So frequently they need me to babysit for them and usually it's fine. My brother contacted me several days ago, and asked if I could babysit his kids for the upcoming weekend, as he and his wife would be 2 states away. Usually, I would agree, but I had a trip planned with some friends to NYC, clearly across the country from us, for a few days. I told him as such, but got upset, and told me that my vacation could wait because whatever it was he had to go was work-related and extremely important, and that his wife was also caring for her mother who recently had a stroke. I told him that I would not be canceling my plans, as I needed a break from work, and he blew up and start yelling about how I should not be tired. I just sit at home all day and don't have any kids. At which point, I just hung up on him after telling him no once again. Fast forward to my trip and I'm hanging at the hotel with my girlfriends. And I check my phone and see a notification from 2 hours ago that there was movement detected at my front door. Well, I check the camera and I'm just entirely ducking floored. There on my front porch were his kids, who apparently had been sitting there unsupervised for 2 whole hours. Of course, I flipped out, called my brother and screamed at him about this and asked where the ducky was and why he would just leave them when he knew I would not be there. He then freaks out at me because I'm not home where I was supposed to be. No, I wasn't. I told him I would not be there. And tells me that I've left his kids in a dangerous situation because he's 2 cities away from home. Turns out that after I hung up on him, he decided he would call my bluff and drop them off anyways. Then he just left without even checking to see if I was home. Now I'm extremely mad and worried sick about my nieces, so without any one of us could call to take care of them, I called the police and informed them of the situation, and that there's no one even in the city to take care of them. Then I called my sister-in-law to tell her that I called the police. Turns out, she had no idea I would not be there because my brother lied to her. Of course she's furious at him, and my brother is spamming me with text messages that I'm going to get his kids taken away and that his wife won't talk to him. Overall, I'm just very angry and just as confused as to what was going on in his head when he decided to just leave 3 children, all under the age of 8, alone. And leave the ducking city? What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito. Man, this story's heating up. Can you guys believe the nerve of that dude to drop off the kids who were helpless and he knew that they weren't there? Okay. Let me tell you, there is an update for this. This update came out 2 weeks after the original post. If you're not subscribed to the channel, that's something you're gonna want to do. There's always updates that come out later, and it's super simple to press that button. So hit that button, help support the channel, and let's jump into this 2-week update. I could not post an update to the original thread because I realized people were following this account in hopes of an update about the situation. For the sake of my sister's privacy, I won't be going in depth, but the children were okay, for anyone wondering. They're currently with my sister-in-law, who is staying elsewhere separately from my brother. A lot of people commented on the last post about how my brother's behavior did not make any sense, and well, I could not really give you an answer because nothing about this situation was sensible to begin with. Nor was this normal behavior for my brother. It was entirely out of left field for him, and prior to this, I would have never assumed he would do something like this. He was oftentimes busy with work, so could not spend a lot of time with the girls. But when he could, he spent every second with them. He was very caring and consensuous when it came to them. However, it has recently came to light that my brother's been having some sudden onset mental health issues, and seemed to be in some sort of manic state when this occurred. I don't know if my sister-in-law will continue her marriage to my brother, but we're looking into getting my brother some help and treatment. As of right now, he's in an institution. Willingly, but he is. And when he gets out, we'll be there to look after and support him. Thank you all for your well wishes and have a blessed day. Alright, so let's read a similar situation story that was a comment in the original thread that seemed to get a lot of attention. One of my friends had a neighbor who would drop off, abandon, her kids whenever she felt like a break. Neighbor would literally lower them over the shared back fence. My friend would look out of her patio window and see 2 extra toddlers playing in the backyard. Surprise! This was annoying but manageable when she was home with her own small children, and 2 extra wasn't a massive burden. It was intolerable when she had her kids at the daycare so she could work. It was downright dangerous when she went on holidays and the kids were left in a wet, wintry garden for a couple hours before the other neighbors heard them crying and called the police. The neglectful mother was indignant and angry to be charged, and moved out shortly afterwards. No one on the street missed her, but those poor kids. OMG. Guys, it makes me wonder how many scenarios were like that story, and how many kids just get dropped off like that. The next story we're going to look at is titled, Am I the A-hole for not wanting my fiancé to dance to a love song dedicated to her late fiancé at our wedding? If you're not subscribed to the channel, do that right now, as you're probably going to want to see some updates for these stories. Okay, here's story number 2. Before we meet, my fiancée Kayla was engaged to a man she's dated for 3 years, who died in a traffic accident. I never dated a woman who had that kind of loss before, so I've been learning as I go. But I've tried to respect that he will always be part of her story, and I've accepted her relationship with her late fiancé's parents with open arms. They stayed very close, and by the time we started dating, they were basically like a second set of parents to her. Kayla's real parents and her late fiancé's parents are all amazing people. So I consider myself pretty lucky to have 2 sets of great in-laws. Our wedding is coming up in May, and Kayla told me that after her father-daughter dance, she would like to have a second dance with her late fiancé's father, to a song Vanilla Twilight. She asked me if I was comfortable with that, and I did not want to be that guy and say no, so I said yes. But really, it makes me uncomfortable that she would be dancing to a love song dedicated to another man at our wedding. I am happy to make space in our lives for his memory. A photo of him is in our mantle at home. We make it a point to commemorate his birthday, the anniversary of his death, and I feel like I'm understanding and supportive when she has bad days. And I am 100% fine with having his parents at the wedding, because, well, like I said, we were all a family. But I also feel like our wedding is one day that it's all supposed to be about our relationship. Am I a jerk if I asked her to reconsider the dance? What are the best compromises? Alright guys, this is another sticky situation. This update we're about to read came out 2 months after the wedding. I hope you're enjoying this story. Drop your comments down below and here's your update. 2 months ago, I married the love of my life. I was thinking about this post the other day, how it went, and where my head was when I made it. And I thought you guys might like an update. A little anticlimactically, the thing I was stressing about was a bit miscommunication, which probably happens a lot here. Kayla wanted to dance with her late fiancé's father at our wedding, and Vanilla Twilight was an example of a song along with the lines of what she wanted. Not the set-in-stone top choice like I had thought, and a lot of commenters in the original thread spent a lot of time over-analyzing the lyrics to that song, looking for hidden meanings in every word. While it turns out she had not put much more thought into the suggestion than, "This is kind of a sad song that I like." Well, we got together that night and she had made several playlists of possible first dance songs for us. Songs for when she walked down the aisle, music to play at the reception, and song choices for her dance with Luke's father. We spent hours listening to them and talking about the wedding. We even made a tournament-style bracket for our first dance song in her journal, and put songs head-to-head against each other until the victor emerged. At the end, we talked about the wedding and our relationship, Luke and their relationship and grief. What it's like when she lost him and what it's like for me when I lost my mom at a young age. What a family is. And all the things we're hopeful for the future. We stayed up until about 3 in the morning, just talking and planning and laughing and crying a little, and I'm so glad for it. After getting bombarded by dozens of different opinions from dozens of different people earlier that day, I'd been worried that I was going to have a conflict with my fiancé shortly before the wedding. But there was no conflict, just a pure memory. After that night, I started putting in more effort to be involved with the wedding planning process and actually asking for the things I wanted, which Kayla actually really appreciated. We also took a long weekend, a couple weeks before the wedding, to go camping on a trip together for just the two of us, which I highly recommend to anyone who's getting married. Overall, there was a complete flip in my feelings leading up to the wedding from being somewhat insecure and excited, but nervous, to being completely at ease, excited, and feeling stronger about my relationship than ever. The wedding day itself was really wonderful and worth the wait. Kayla and Luke's father had their dance to lean on me, and I also had a dance with Kayla's mom, and it was very emotional in a good way. I really felt that the day was a celebration of our love, and I was genuinely happy that Luke's parents were there to celebrate along with us, because, well, they are very much members of our family, and I wish I had the space to describe all the ways they've been there for us throughout the years. My amazing wife is who she is because of all the experiences that she had in her life. And I don't want to be that kind of man who asks her to pretend that she's never loved me before, or pretend that her grief is something that is or should be done with forever, now that she's with me. I just wanted to say how glad I am that we shared that night together, and that the wedding was nothing but love and celebration. I never thought I could ever be so happy. Okay guys, so I want to point out how I think this story has everything to do with communication. And what I mean by that, well, let's refer to a couple comments. Another couple who communicates. Oh, I'm not surprised it worked out. Communication is really so important. All too often, I've seen a molehill become a mountain because people did not talk. I know it can be uncomfortable and scary, but it's usually so much easier to do so rather than later. What do you guys think of that? Do you think the reason it worked out so well in this situation was mainly because of communication, or was it something completely different? Drop your thoughts about this in the comment section, and we're going to turn our attention to the final story of the day. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop acting as if my fiancé were her son's father? Guys, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Here's your final story. I'm 24 female and my sister's 23. Had my nephew Joe during her first year in college. The father is absent in his life and only pays child support. She's always hated the idea of my nephew growing without a father, and since our only brother's 17 and our dad passed away 10 years ago, she dated recklessly for a while and introduced him to a bunch of dudes. 3 years ago, I met my now fiancé Gabriel. He's really sweet and adores my family. He is financially stable and is good with children, has a bunch of nephews on his own, and comes from a good, big family. We've decided to be child-free, and if something happens to my sister and a few of Gabe's siblings, we're meant to be their legal guardian. For the past year, my sister has grown comfortable with pushing Joe around Gabe. She always invites him to my nephew's activities, which is fine, but she acts as if Gabe were her guest and I'm his +1, not otherwise. Plus, my brother used to be the one who got invited and he's just not anymore. She asks Gabe to drive her and Joe to places, and Mom points out how they look like a family when he does it. She jokes about how much of a dad Gabriel is for Joe, and she had the audacity to ask him once if he was comfortable with adopting Joe. But she was drunk, so I'll give her that. Neither Gabe nor I are comfortable with this. He doesn't know how to push it aside without hurting her feelings. My mom has told my sister countless times how this is inappropriate, but my sister always gets defensive and says that Joe chose him and it's not her fault. Well, things blew up last weekend when Joe asked Gabriel if he could call him Dad because, quote, Mom said it was fine. My sister was looking at them with the biggest smile on her face, and I could notice how my mom and my brother were expecting his answer. Neither of them agree with it too. He sat Joe in his knee and kindly explained to him how he was not his dad, or even a father figure, that he was Aunt OP's soon-to-be husband, and that made him his favorite uncle. But even if he wasn't his dad, he would never leave him and they'll always be best of friends. Joe, being the sweet little boy he is, laughed and smiled and said, it's okay, then ran to the living room to play with something. I think the situation resolved itself okay, but my sister did not like it, and started to fight with the two of us. My mom kept telling her to shut up, but she was saying things like, "What's wrong with you two? How can you say no to a little kid? He sees you as a father, so you should be proud of that." I had enough and told her that Gabriel wasn't Joe's dad, and that she needed to stop acting as if he was because it's honestly embarrassing. She called me a selfish beep and said that I was jealous of her kid. I just rolled my eyes and we decided to leave after. She later sent me a text saying that it was for the best if we step out of Joe's life for a while, or we will end up confusing him because he doesn't understand that Gabriel is not daddy. But as far as I could see, he understood it pretty well. So this whole time, I was thinking how the sister's jealous, and she probably wants OP's boyfriend, to be honest. Let's go ahead and read this comment because OP replied to it, and it gives us a little bit of answers on that. Not the a-hole, but you know your sister wants your fiancé, right? Comment 2. That's right here. Sister's absolutely going to try to get fiancé to dump OP, if she hasn't already. And here's when OP finally chimes in. As far as I know, she's never tried something like that. Neither my mom, Gabe, or I think that my sister might be emotionally interested in my fiancé. She only wants him as my nephew's father. But I don't think she's in love with him or something like that. Well, guys, I'll give you a good reason to subscribe to the channel. I have a good feeling this is not the last time we're going to be hearing about this one. I think that sister has something up her sleeves. But hey, you never know. There could never be an update again for all I know. Subscribe to the channel just in case, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day.